they're struggling to assert their artistic identity. And a lot of this comes out of my own struggles with self doubt and the fact that I also coach a lot of other writers as a book coach, helping them also find their path to publishing and to overcome self doubt. So I think it's a really big issue among creative people who are struggling to feel confident and to make art, which is a very vulnerable kind of thing to do.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Amy. Thank you. So the doubt master is a powerful metaphor. Can you describe the specific form it looked like your file or your life or a creative work before you learn to wrangle it? What does the voice sound like?
Well, we are constantly playing messages in our heads, right? And a lot of them are often very negative messages. And sometimes they're whispering, sometimes they're shouting. But so often we're telling ourselves negative stories about our capabilities. We think, I'm not good enough. I'm not talented enough. I probably shouldn't do this. This probably isn't the right place for me to be. I won't win. I will lose. I'm being rejected. This means I'm terrible. I didn't get that job. I must be really, bad at this. So we have these messages that are playing in our heads all the time. And it really sows the seeds of self doubt that undermines our confidence, undermines our willingness to take risks, and to basically uh, feel we hesitate to embrace the discomfort that growth often requires of us. If we want to grow in our skill sets, or we want to grow emotionally, or we want to make new things happen in our lives, we have to allow ourselves to feel a little bit uncomfortable. And when self doubt is winning the day, you really hesitate to do that and you pull back instead of going forward. And so this can feel like depression. It can feel like procrastination. It can feel like you can't make a decision. And it can generally make you feel fearful about trying new things. So self doubt shows up in many different ways.
Interesting, Miss Amy. Your book's title frames doubt or something, wrangle, not slay or eliminate. Why is the distinction between management and eradication is important for sustainable creative confidence?
Well, I like to say that we cannot completely conquer or eliminate doubt or self doubt, but we can manage it. So, wrangling the doubt monster is about that struggle and that process of managing these sort of negative, fearful thoughts and reminding ourselves that we can walk with our doubts. Because for all of those negative thoughts that we have to remember all the positive thoughts that are asking to be paid attention to. For example, think about all the things that you're actually very good at. Think about all the competencies that you have. Think about all the times in your life when you succeeded or were recognized or praised or rewarded. And we tend to minimize those and let the negative thoughts win. But the truth is, we have to remember that we are also so capable, and we have to really try to lead with that confidence more often than we often do.
So, Miss Amy, many creatives face a dual challenge of imposter syndrome and the inner critics. How does a doubt monster differ from a common experiences, or is it a source of them?
Well, let me talk about where I think a lot of this is coming from, which I think is related to your question. Most of us are living in cultures that reward very specific kinds of pursuits and achievements. We reward money, we reward fame, celebrity, prestigious titles. We honor people in professions that have high status in our societies, like maybe being a doctor or an attorney or some other an athlete or sometimes an actor or an actress. And so most of us who are out here practicing any kind of an art form, whether it's writing or painting, or maybe you're someone who wants to launch a new business, or some other creative endeavor, we're often told well, you're not spending your time well, that's not going to pay off, you're not doing something meaningful, why don't you take a safer path and meet all these other things that the culture is going to reward, instead of doing something like practicing an art form where you may not earn money, where you may not be very visible, where you may not have something tangible to show people for a really long time. So all of those things, we're fighting as artists and as creative people, we're fighting the culture every single day, and that's what puts throws us into this very doubting state. And so that's part of the reason that all this really comes forward so much. And I'm trying to normalize our conversations around this because it's a very real thing that we're hesitant to talk about.
Miss Amy, creative fields are filled with subjectivity and rejection. How does your approach help someone separate useful critical feedback from destructive noise and the personal doubt monster?
I love that question. And people have to put rejection, believe me, I've gotten so much of it. So I definitely am an expert in the rejection category. You have to put this in perspective.
Hmm.
You cannot view every rejection through a deeply personal lens. You're not being rejected as a human being. You're not being rejected as a person with any worth. What's happening is there are so many factors outside of your control that go into not winning, that go into being rejected. Certainly, in the world of writing, and it's true elsewhere, if you're rejected from publication, let's say, which is the common thing to be rejected from, there are so many factors that an editor or a publisher has to consider before they accept a property. And very little of that has to do with the merit of your work or the strengths of your work. It has a lot more to do with the fit of the work at that point in time, the mix of materials that say the publisher might already have in hand. It might have to do with that they have specific goals they're trying to meet for certain kinds of work, and you just don't happen to fit that profile. None of that is personal, and none of that is about your worth. I have had so much rejection until I was accepted or successful. And so it is subjective. And you've got to remind yourself that if you're in this for the long haul, you have to live to fight another day. So you have to take some of the emotion out of this because you're just not going to survive if you take it so personally every time. You really have to learn to say, okay, I didn't win that one, but there is a win out there for me, and I will just keep going. You have to view it that way, and you have to take some of the emotion and some of the personal sting out of it in order to just keep on doing your art.
Very well said, Miss Amy. So let's talk about the tools for the fight on finding inspiration. You talk about finding fears and finding inspiration. Are these two separate acts, or does actively combating doubt naturally open to the channels to inspiration? What is the connection?
Well, let me offer some strategies that people can use that are both fighting fears and finding inspiration, because I think that's what managing self-doubt is all about. One of the things that I strongly encourage people to do is you must sideline your adversaries and embrace your allies. And what I mean by that is an adversary is any person or institution that is only going to reinforce the whole doubting nature of whatever it is you're doing. So it could be even people who love you, who fear for you because they think you're not going to succeed, and that scares them on your behalf. And so they say, don't do this, don't try this, why are you spending your time on this? It's not going to be worth it, you're not going to gain anything. And so they think they have your best interest at heart, but they don't understand the joy and passion that you may derive just from practicing your art. And so they're seeing it in a different way. And so they're really functioning as adversaries that are not going to help you feel supported and encouraged. And what you need to do is basically distance yourself from those people or from those conversations. And you've got to find allies, which might be people who are already in your field, your art field, or your creative field, or other people who really understand your desire to practice your creativity and to take chances, and that they will support and encourage you. And you want to surround yourself with those people. And that's a really important step that any creative person needs to take so that they feel encouraged and inspired to keep going.
Yes, surround your people with people that love you, support you, or give you the best. So, can you walk us through one practical, tangible wrangling tool from your book that a listener could use the next time doubt paralyzes them and to start our project?
Well, there are a couple things that you can do. The first, I think I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier. A lot of this is what I simply call mindset management. When you are really trapped in kind of a doubt spiral, there's a number of things that you can do that force you to pay attention to what's happening to you and why you're thinking that way. And that's the first step toward being able to think differently. Many, many people that I talk to and that I've coached and run creativity workshops with have been told from childhood that they weren't going to amount to much, or that they weren't very good at anything, and they got a lot of negative messages, unfortunately, from parents or maybe other relatives or even or bullies around them, and they carry those messages deep into adulthood, so that when it comes time for them to try and do something, let's say, seems creative and risky, they're struggling because those old messages, again, often from parents, unfortunately, are saying, "Oh, you're just a, you just make a lot of mistakes. You're not really good at very many things. You seem to start things and you never finish them. You're just not really very good." And so, what you have to do is recognize where the root of those messages is coming from. They're deep, often deep in your past. This is proven to be so true over and over again. And what you need to do is make a promise to yourself, which is to give yourself permission to kind of start over, to see that you have a blank slate every day for the rest of your life, that you can start over and do things your way. You can practice your creativity. You can take those steps. And while those old messages may not completely go away, the difference here is that you're giving yourself permission to go ahead anyway. And you really need to do that for yourself because nobody can do it for you. So that's a mindset management tool that people can really spend time with. And it really helps to join a creative community of people who will support your thinking in that way.
Definitely. And Miss Amy, decisions fatigue can be a huge fuel for the doubt monster. What strategy do you offer for simplifying creative choices to conserve mental energy for the work itself?
That is also a really wonderful question. And I always ask people to go back to their why. Why are you doing this thing? Why now? And is it giving you joy? And so if you're going to answer, if you don't know, or you're going to say, no, it's not giving me joy, perhaps that's something that you need to put to the side. Perhaps you're doing that thing because other people told you to, or again, you feel cultural pressure to do a certain thing. So you need to always go back to your own why, and is what I'm doing giving me joy, and do I have a passion for it? You've got to start there. And if you're doing a whole bunch of things that are not giving you any joy, that are making you deeply unhappy and feel like they're pulling you away from what does give you joy, you need to sideline those things to the extent that you possibly can and focus on the things that make you feel excited, that make you want to get up in the morning. Now, look, in the real world, most of us have jobs, and those jobs are not incredibly exciting every day, and we may not want to go to them every day. But I'm really not talking about that. I'm talking about where you have a genuine choice. You really don't want to be doing the things that you think you're doing because somebody else thinks you should. You need to be driven by your own inner sense of joy and passion and fulfillment and discovery, and let that dictate what comes first.
So, Miss Amy, as an author, what are your short term and long term goals?
Just to keep writing, to keep connecting with people in situations like this, to keep having conversations around books, the books that I write and other people's books, and basically to continue to participate in conversations around creativity and helping artists feel very very seen and heard and respected.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Amy, and looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
If you're going to build a career over the long term that you can sustain as an artist, whether that means sustain economically or sustain your passion, you're going to have to take it seriously as a business. You're going to have to tamp down your emotional responses to rejection. And you have to keep creating because you believe in yourself and the art that you're making every single day. And that's what you need to do over the long haul. And don't let setbacks just basically make you stop because we always face setbacks and you have to keep going.
Mm-hmm. Yes, people. Setbacks is everywhere, but you need to deal with it. Thank you for that advice, Miss Amy. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Book that influences me. Is that
Yes,
what you're
please.
asking? Oh gosh, this is the question that stumps me every time. Um, I read so many different things, and I think I have to just say that as a novelist, having written 6 novels, I'm most deeply inspired by older literature that really takes its time to develop a rich story as opposed to racing through a plot to catch a reader's short attention span. So I like to read deep into the sort of literary canon of the 19th and early 20th century when reading a book really took time and patience and focus. And that's what inspires me.
Mm-hmm. The Brontes example, right?
That's sure. That's absolutely one. That's right. Anything in the 19th and a lot of the 18th century as well. Yes.
Definitely the Brontes, people. So thank you, Miss Amy, for the recommended book. So tell us, beyond individual creativity, how can the principles of wrangling doubt apply to collaborative teams of organizational culture to foster more innovation and psychological safety?
Well, I think that that begins with we've got to listen to one another and sort of honor and respect everybody's point of view and where they're coming from because when you get so caught up in pushing your own agenda, you really can't see what's going on around you. I guess the advice comes down to read the room. I think it's the key to collaboration is really being able to listen to others and what they need. And if you help them to get what they need, your own needs will be met. I think that's a real basic key there.
Definitely, yeah. So, Miss Amy, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in 6th season, abstract poetry in 3rd season, and my book 101 review in 6th season as well, comedy 101 in 3rd season, and my food 101 in 6th season too, geography 101 love letters, Movie 101 Review, Music 101 are in 5th season, Science 101, Sex 101 in its 4th season, Trivia 101, Law 101, Mental Health 101, Motivation 101, Entrepreneurship 101, and of course, Bible Verses 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Amy, looking at your own creative journey, what is one piece of evidence or past success you can now point to the definitively proves your doubt monster was wrong about key fear?
Well, I don't think that I could have written and published 7 books if I didn't simply power through the doubts. It's that simple. And a lot of what goes with that is persistence and grit. You've got to continue to believe in yourself, even when it looks like other people are not believing in you, because that's what's going to keep you going forward.
Hmm. Start with you, people. Believe in within yourself. And Miss Amy, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So can you please invite our listeners to support your books, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yes, well, thank you, Daniel. And if you visit my website, amywrites.live, it's AMYWRITES.live, you'll find everything there.
Definitely. So, what's your latest book, Miss Amy? Yeah, tell
I,
us.
I have a novel coming out called Tent City. It's about one family's failing grip on the American dream during an economic crisis.
So, what is all about Dream of Some
I'm
Time?
sorry, what was that?
What is all about the dreams of Song Times?
Dreams of Sometimes. I've written many different kinds of books. It's hard to summarize them really quickly, but that one is a fantasy about a mermaid who is the last of her species and must save herself from
Hmm.
extinction.
Okay, interesting. How about the Potero
Potrero
Complex?
Complex. That is a mystery thriller about the rise of authoritarianism in a post-pandemic world.
The Night
The
Hawkers.
Nighthawkers is a paranormal romance about love in a very love in a strange place.
And an Unexpected Death.
Well, that's just a short story, and the other book, Fran, the second time around, is a book about one young teen's recovery from a trauma, and that's for younger middle grade readers. And the other book listed there doesn't really exist; it just comes up through the technology.
Okay, people, let's support Miss Amy. Yeah, because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering books like this to thrive. So before I will let you go, Miss Amy, I have one more question. In a world of often values relentlessly productivity and output, how does making peace with the doubt monster allow for the shower or make it, let's say, iterative process or messier where the best work often happens?
I didn't quite understand that question. Can you say it one more time?
Yes, in a world often values relentlessly productivity and output, how does making peace with the doubt monster allow for the slower, messier, or iterative process where the best work often happens?
Well, I think it really goes to finding your motivation and keeping that alive. And you need to power through, you have to learn how to walk with your doubt so that you can stay motivated and connected to the things that matter most to you, even if those are not high reward, high visibility activities.
Miss Amy, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Welcome, people. See you soon.
I'm sorry?